Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Kane 6989's Let's Read Five Nights at Freddy's The Silver Eyes. Last time, we had just finished part 5, I believe, and Charlie and Jessica had just gone and gotten into a hotel after they all bailed from the pizzeria. Let's go ahead and see where things are going from there, huh? Alright, here we go. Charlie rolled over onto her back, looking up at the ceiling. The tiles were made of loose, stained styrofoam, and the one above her head was askew. I hope there aren't any bugs up in there, she thought. I don't know, she said slowly. I think it's really cool that you know who you want to be, but I have just never had that kind of a plan. Well, it's not like you to have to figure, said. Maybe, Charlie said, but I don't know, you know what you want to do. John's known since he could hold a pencil that he wanted to be a writer, and he's already getting published. Even Carlton. I don't know what he has planned, but you can just see that there's a scheme brewing behind all his kidding around. But I just don't have that kind of direction. It really doesn't matter, Jessica said. I don't think most people know at our age. Plus, I might change my mind, or not get into college or something. You never know what's going to happen. Hey, I'm going to get changed. I want to get some sleep. She went into the bathroom, and Charlie stayed where she was, gazing at the sorry-looking ceiling. She supposed it was becoming a defect, her earnest refusal to consider the past or future. Live in the present moment, her Aunt Jen said often, and Charlie had taken it to heart. Don't dwell on the past. Don't worry about things that may never happen. In 8th grade, she had taken a shop class, vaguely hoping that the mechanical work might spark something of her father's talent, might unleash some inherited passion lying latent within her. But it did not. It didn't. She had made a clumsy-looking birdhouse for the backyard. She never took another shop class, and the birdhouse only attracted one squirrel who promptly knocked it down. Jessica came out of the bathroom wearing pink striped pajamas, and Charlie went in to get ready for bed, changing and brushing her teeth hurriedly. When she came out again, Jessica was already under the covers with the light by her bed turned off. Charlie turned hers off too, but the light from the parking lot still shone in from the window, somehow filtering past the dumpsters. Charlie stared up at the ceiling again, her hands behind her head. Do you know what's going to happen tomorrow? She asked. I don't really know, Jessica said. I know it's a ceremony at the school. Yeah, I know that, Charlie said. Are we going to have to do anything? Like, do they want us to speak? I don't think so, Jessica said. Why, do you want to say something? No, I was just wondering. Do you ever think about him? Jessica asked. Sometimes I try not to, Charlie said half truthfully. She had sealed off the subject of Michael in her mind, locked him tight behind a mental wall she never touched. It wasn't an effort to avoid the subject. In fact, it was an effort to think of him now. What about you? She asked Jessica. Not really, she said. It's weird, right? Something happens, and it's the worst thing you can ever imagine, and it's just burned into you at the time, like it's going to go on forever. And then the years go by, and it's just another thing that happened. Not like it's not important or terrible, but it's in the past, just as much as everything else, you know? I guess, Charlie said, but she did not know. But she did know. I just try not to think about those things. Me too. You know, I just went to a funeral last week. I'm sorry, Charlie said, sitting up. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine, Jessica said. I barely even knew him. He was just an old relative who lived 3 states away. I think I met him once, but I hardly remember it. We mostly went for my mom's sake. But it was at an old-fashioned funeral parlor, like in the movies, with an open coffin. And we all walked by the coffin, and when it was my turn I looked at him, and he could have been sleeping, just calm and restful. like people always say dead people look. There was nothing that I could have pointed out that made me think dead. If you ask me, every feature of his face looked the same as if he were alive. His skin was the same, his hair was the same as if he were alive, but he wasn't alive, and I just knew it. I would have known it immediately, even if he wasn't, you know, in a coffin. I know what you mean. There is something about them when they're, Charlie said softly. It sounds stupid when I say it, but when I looked at him, he looked so alive, and yet I knew, just knew that he wasn't. It made my skin crawl. That's the worst thing, isn't it? Charlie said. Things that act alive but aren't. What? Jessica said. I mean, things that look alive but aren't, Charlie said quickly. We should get some sleep, she said. Did you set the alarm? Yeah, Jessica said. Good night. Night. Charlie knew sleep was still a long way off. She knew what Jessica meant, probably better than Jessica did. The artificial shine in eyes that followed you as you moved, just like a real person's would. The slight lurch of realistic animals who did not move the way things should. The occasional programming glitch that made a robot appear to have done something new, creative. Her childhood had been filled with them. She had grown up in the strange gap between life and not life. It had been her world. It had been her father's world. Charlie closed her eyes. What did that world do to him? Alright, guys, I'm going to go ahead and stop here. This was the end of chapter 3. And this, I believe, is where we're ending part 6 of our Let's Read. That was part 6 of Five Nights at Freddy's The Silver Eyes, guys. And it looks like Charlie is thinking a lot about her father now. Now, I don't want to spoil anything for you guys, but I'd heard a few things about the book. And supposedly Charlie's father has something to do with the games. But that's as much as I know right off the top of my head. I'm going to keep reading on, and hopefully we'll find out for sure. You guys and me both. Alright, guys. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you guys in the next part. This is Kane6989, signing out. Bye-bye.